Hey, this is Aaron Little, Performance Edge Training in Lexington, Kentucky. I'm here with James Yeager today, doing an interview. James is, in full disclosure, James is a very good friend of mine. He's been encouraging me to start this YouTube thing for quite a while, and I thought if I was going to do that, the best thing to do would be an interview with James. James interviews a lot of people. If I can interject, please.
And I've done a lot of YouTube interviews, and I told Aaron, I said, let's get away from the gun stuff. Let's talk about social issues. Let's talk about political issues. And so it's me encouraging him, in that direction.
He's been pushing it for a long time, and I thought I would like for this first one I put up to be with James. So here we go. James, I thought about a lot of the videos you've got up so far. A lot of the questions you've already answered. Some of this may be a little repeat, but I wanted to hit things that you really haven't talked about. So the first of which, and I think this is a great way to get anybody's interview started, it's kind of the first question I ask people when I meet them is, where did you grow up?
I grew up in, I live in Camden, Tennessee. I grew up about 20 miles north of here, near Paris Landing, Tennessee. Henry County. It's the next county. It's the next county north of here. That's where I grew up. I grew up in a house that my grandfather built himself, and I have a lot of like fond childhood memories. I grew up near a lake, so a lot of lake activities and and canoeing and fishing and stuff like that.
I know a lot of times I grew up in a very small community, and it seems to be the trend across the country that kids grow up in a small town and are always anxious to move away. Ever any desire to move away from this area?
I have lived in other places. I lived when I graduated high school. I lived in South Carolina for a couple of years, and Carolinas are beautiful, but they weren't home, and I like living here. And as an adult, houses are cheap here. Taxes are pretty reasonable here. It's not like living in the northeastern United States, and so it's like affordable to live here, and it's home.
Okay, very good. Do you recall first shooting experience or who it was that introduced you to firearms?
I cannot remember the first time I pressed a trigger. I was very young, I know that. But like all I've ever known is guns. And what I mean by that is, one of my prized possessions, probably my most prized possession, is a handmade cedar bedroom set that's in my master bedroom that my grandfather actually traded a guy that made furniture and moonshine. My grandfather was a drinker, and but he traded a Smith & Wesson .38 pistol for this bedroom set. So I sleep on a bed every night that was bought with a gun transaction.
Very cool.
So it's all I've ever known.
Very cool, very cool. Do you any recollections, any specific memories of childhood shooting?
Like Grandpa, like he passed away when I was really young, but I can remember him doing stuff like what we would call trick shooting nowadays. Like he could strike matches with a .22 rifle, like shoot the bullet so close to the edge that it would strike the edge, stuff like that. And I remember him talking about shooting and stuff like that when I was a little bit. He passed away when I was very young, so I didn't actually get to shoot with Grandpa.
Do you think is there a possibility that and here I am, interviewer, putting a thought in your head, but that experience, that memory, possibly what started this path?
Oh, absolutely. There's no doubt. Like from a very young age, not only were guns okay, guns were like a positive thing. Now keep in mind, like I don't remember any time anybody when I was young saying using guns for self-defense to shoot other people or anything like that. It was a recreational thing, but it was very positive. And like I have like only positive firearms memories, from that era of my life.
Can you strike a match with a .22?
I haven't tried it, and I can do things like split playing cards in half and stuff like that, but I've never tried it because I'm afraid that I couldn't do it, and maybe I should, but it's kind of like I think I'm just going to let Grandpa have that,
Okay. If you ever decide you want to do it, I want to be there, and that'll be another YouTube video.
All right.
Yeah.
We can do that.
We can give it a shot. I know when I first met you, which was over a decade ago, You were, I guess at that time, chief of police of a small town. You've been involved in law enforcement as long as I've known you. A question I have that I don't think we've ever talked about is, did you ever in your life consider the military?
Yeah, absolutely. What's funny is I took the ASVAB in high school, the Armed Services Vocational Aptitude Battery that they still give to high school students, and I scored really high, like the 99th percentile. And I remember being 17 years old in 1987. And
You're old.
Yeah, and a Navy recruiter coming to talk to me, and I grew up poor. I grew up really poor. Coming to me with a $40,000 check to sign up for the Navy's nuclear submarine program. And I just remember thinking, that's a lot of money. I can't fucking be on a submarine.
You got a thing with boats.
I just underwater is even worse than being on the water. So I really, I was getting out of high school. I didn't want to go in the military. I'm rebellious. I thought I wouldn't do well. But then a couple of years later, Desert Storm kicked off, and I was literally driving to a recruiter's office when I heard on the radio that it was over, because it was so
Sure.
fast, 100 hours or whatever it was.
Right.
And then I thought, fuck that. I'm not going to be in a peacetime military. And so that and it was the next year that I became a cop.
So can you get back to a point where this career path that you're on now, this commercial firearms trainer, traveling the world teaching classes, what the seed for that was and how that grew?
Well, I like to shoot, so I started shooting competitions. I became a cop, and I worked undercover. And then while I was undercover, I took a bunch of training classes, and I thought, hey, I like this. And then in 1996, I started doing carry permit classes. And so, imagine this fork, my two paths my life was taking at the same time. I had my law enforcement path, and I was a good cop. I was never written up, sued, or suspended. Never in my entire police career. You look at my personnel files, letters of commendation, and stuff like that. I've been called on the carpet, hey Yeager, but never anything formal, never anything legal, right? But I never got along politically in law enforcement, and so I have this one path of training where people go, oh, you're doing great, and eventually, you saved my life, and then the other law enforcement aspect of my life, where when I thought I was doing the best job, I got yelled at the most. And so private business rewarded me for everything that being a cop punished me for. Thinking outside the box, being motivated, doing more than I was asked to do, and so what I found was everything that made me a shitty cop made me a really fucking good businessman.
Very good, very good. So
you weren't expecting that answer, were you?
I was not. Listen, I picked some of these questions because I didn't know what you were going to say. I didn't want this to be a fake interview.
Right,
I wanted
right.
to ask things I didn't really know the answer to.
Right.
Something I've noticed, especially in as your YouTube videos have progressed, you've kind of broken out of the mold of a lot of, controversy aside, all that. You've kind of broken out of the mold of always talking about training or gear reviews, and you have a willingness to talk about issues far removed from the tactical world. Why?
Okay.
What brought that up?
Because the stereotypical gun guy is a right-wing Christian zealot homophobe that's intolerable of anyone else, and I'm not that guy. And so I think it's important for people to know I'm not a conservative. I'm a libertarian. I think it's important for people to know that I think it's okay if you're gay. I think it's okay if you want to be a lesbian. I think it's okay whatever race, creed, color, or religion you are. And so I want to let people know that just because I'm a white guy that's got a shaved head with tattoos, I'm not a racist, and I do care about our entire society and all the issues that affect us. And there are a lot of people that look to me, I'm not going to say for advice, but at least to weigh what my opinion is. And I take that seriously. And so I do subjects that a lot of other instructors don't do, I think because they don't want to incur the political wrath. But yeah, I'm kind of like Don Quixote adjusting the windmills. I mean, I think that I'm supposed to be doing these things.
Yeah, something that I know just really because of our friendship over the years. Tactical Response sees a tremendous amount of students each year. And I know that something that people that have never trained with you probably don't know is you have a knack for building rapport with students. So I would think that it's that rapport that builds friendships with a tremendous amount of students each year that leads them to want to ask and know about those things.
Right.
You mentioned you're not a conservative, you're a libertarian. On one hand, libertarian is a specific thing, often referred to as a big old libertarian. But there's also a personal thing for a lot of people, what libertarianism means to them. What does it mean to you when you say you're a libertarian?
It means that I want to be free, so I have to let everyone else be free. Just because they don't enjoy the same freedom I do doesn't mean that I shouldn't let them have it.
Very good. Very good. That's we're on the same page. So we have now established the fact that you're willing to talk about other things outside the scope of pressing triggers and blowing things up and reviewing gear. So on my notes here, I just jotted down a few kind of hot button issues of the day, just to get your thoughts on. No particular order. So let's start with the TSA.
Mm-hmm. The first thing is I've traveled a lot and I meet a lot of TSA agents, and by and large, like I think they're good folks. I mean, I have them that come up to me, they see my tattoos and come up. I mean, I actually have TSA people that recognize me from YouTube and TV, and it's funny. I've been in line to put my stuff on the belt, and the TSA guy, hey man, can I get a picture? And they'll have like another passenger take a picture of me and this TSA guy. So and I've given any number of cards to TSA guys, and I tell them, hey, remind me that you're the TSA guy at whatever that I met at Vegas, and I'll hook you up on a class. So I'm not like anti-TSA, but man, there's some fucking shitheads working for the TSA that are. I used to call it when I was a cop an ounce of power. You give somebody this 1 ounce of power, and they're going to put their thumb on it, and they're going to just hammer you with it like a meter maid, and they're going to write you that ticket for that meter. Well, unfortunately, there's some TSA agents like that are giving a lot of good TSA agents a bad name, and I believe that it's just it is a group of people that have never had any proper leadership, and that's anytime I have a problem with a group of people, I always have to blame the leader, and apparently either their leader is non-existent or is totally ineffective.
You brought up a good point, and I know I'm supposed to be interviewing you.
Yeah.
But I travel a lot as well, teaching really all over North America. And personally, any negative experience I've ever had hasn't really been their fault. It's been a misunderstanding. Maybe it was my fault. But the individual TSA agents that I come in contact with have just done their job. But I get so frustrated with the never-ending stories of this happening, that happening, and honestly, two people that we personally know. So sometimes it's hard to separate the experiences I know that other people are going through from the experiences that I'm having myself.
Right.
And I know you have to be in the same boat.
Well, I just I wish they would do better.
Yeah. So again, just hot button issues. Abortion. What's your thoughts on abortion?
That's probably the for me, the least clear social issue, and so I can say without any hesitation, birth control, abortion should not be birth control. And what I mean by that is, oh, she's pregnant again, let's get another abortion. I mean, like, it shouldn't be used like that. But at some point, it does become a life, and so on one end, it shouldn't be used as a contraceptive, and then way at the other end, well, they shouldn't be killing these babies in the third trimester. They're babies.
Right.
So I don't know. It is such a complex issue, and I've got two boundaries set up at the ends, but it's the middle that I don't know. I don't know how to answer that. Like, first off, don't have sex unless you want to have a kid, right. And then there would never be a problem.
Or at least unless you're willing to accept the fact that you might have a kid.
Right. But that is probably the only issue that you're going to bring up that I'm going to go, man, I don't exactly know how to define what I think or feel about that, but I know I do have limits at both ends, but it's the middle that I can't come to terms with.
If and when roles are reversed, it's a soapbox issue for me. Just
okay.
Future reference.
All right.
It's a soapbox issue.
We'll go through the same questions.
We may. So immigration. Obviously, immigration reform, immigration policy is huge here. August 2013. Thoughts?